Yo, what's up, everybody? Kobe here, back with another live stream. I just got back home from going out of town on a vacation. I went to Charlotte to go watch the Hornets Spurs game and had a good time. Outside of all the snow that I wasn't trapped with, I was like worried that the game was going to get canceled. Luckily, it didn't. It just got moved up earlier in the day. Had to drive through like a damn near a blizzard to get to the game. But it was cool. I took my son, well, my dad, and my brother who flew out as well to go to the game. So that was really, really dope. And then after that, I was just pretty much stuck in my hotel for like 2 days straight. But it is what it is. Um, you know what I'm saying? You guys see what the stream is about. We are going to be looking at some black comics, and we're going to be looking at some black comics and some black manga. And most of them are by creators that are like black writers, artists, mainly like cartoonists, because those are most of the people who I like pick up and check out for the most part. And we're just gonna check it out, man. You know, it's Black History Month, and you know it could be cliche to do this stuff, to do this stuff during those times. I don't give a fuck because if you are a person who's watches my channel all the time, especially my main channel, I always talk about black art all the time. I always recommend black comics, black art. So Black History Month is just a emphasized month for Black history. But for me, Black history is every day when I learn something new about blackness and things like that. And it's interesting because I feel like there's this like people kind of conflate Black History Month with the corporate Black History Month, which is like, when people get the Black History edition comics or the covers or the shoes or, the ice cream or whatever the hell for the month that people kind of they use that as a point of emphasis or like not emphasis, but like a point in contention for Black History Month and make it seem like, oh, this is just a corporate thing, or people only care about Black artists or Black writers or Black characters during this month, which obviously the corporations do. But that doesn't mean that you, as a person who would support or should support Black characters or Black creators, fuck the characters, the creators, that can be a year-round thing. And I'm going to show you like a bunch of comics. These are not mainstream comics. These aren't Black Panther. This isn't Static. This isn't, these are comics that I've personally found from independent or small press or maybe even comics that kind of went under the radar by like Black artists, Black writers, and Black stories in general. And I think that it's important that we highlight these books because these are things that if you aren't looking for it, you won't even find it. Because you have to stop relying on a Marvel or DC or Image Comics or whoever to give you something or show you something or put more emphasis on certain characters that they don't care about unless they're making them their bottom line, like a Static. I mean, not even Static, like a Miles Morales, who's the only Black character right now who's even getting any sort of love because he has two phenomenal movies that came out within the last 10 years. So, so we're going to look at some of these. I have some really dope manga created by Black creators. And yes, they're manga. I don't care, about all that stuff. I mean, to me personally, manga and comics are the same thing. Like it's just this two sides of the same word. But people on the internet like to try to scoot over this way, try and change it up. But to me, it's the same thing. But I respect the creators, and and some of them actually were printed through Japanese corporations and Japanese publications. So they are technically manga, I guess, quote unquote. But a lot of these are Black creators, Black indie creators who made their own manga. And then we're gonna look at some Black indie comics. And what's up? And we're gonna look at some of my favorite Black comics about that are really Black stories and by Black artists, writers, and all that. And then after that, I'm gonna do some drawing. I got a ghostwriter drawing that I did over the weekend, and I finally when I got home I was able to print it out. So I'll ink this after we're done looking at the books. But before we get into that, I am still running my Kickstarter for Awol. We have about 5 days left. Hit the funding goal a couple, maybe like a week or so ago. We got 40 backers, 5 days. Super grateful for everybody who's backed and supported so far. Obviously, I couldn't have got it funded without you guys, and I really, really appreciate it. I've had, this is my second campaign that's hit its funding goal, and I really, really appreciate it. And it's awesome that people care and support enough to back my campaigns. I dropped a link in the chat for anybody who wants to go check it out. Again, it's 5 days left. I have a bunch of cool goals, like not goals, but like rewards. You can get a digital copy. I have a bunch of cool variant cards by some really, really dope artists. And then I have some really cool add-ons as well. So if you guys are interested, please go check it out. I would really, really appreciate it. Again, it's only 5 days left, so get your copy while you can. All those, the covers, the variant covers are only going to be a Kickstarter exclusive. I'm really only going to order as much as like for the people who bought them, honestly, and then all the other good jazz and stuff like that. So yeah, I would really, really appreciate it if you guys go check it out. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into some of these books. Let's look at so one of the first ones. This one's really, really dope. This is one of the first, mangas by like black creators that I found like a long time ago. It's one of the first comics that I found early on, back in the day, like probably like 2020. When I first started getting into comics, I found out about this comic, and it's by Nicholas Draper Ivory, Exogenesis. He's the artist, and the story's by TD McIntosh. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this comic before. This is by a noir Caesar, who was a they were an imprint. I think they're still around, but I mean, I've heard mixed things about them. I don't know about the publishing, whatever. That's neither here nor there about the business behind it. I don't know, again, like enough about that stuff, so I'm not going to get into all that. But this comic is super dope. If you know Nicholas Draper Ivory, he's a guy who essentially who helped to bring back Static when they brought back the new initiative. And this comic is freaking dope. He did so many, like, look at this. Artwork is sick. Uh, just just amazing. Nick he's like a dope artist. He has a really like great anime manga style. I think he takes influence from like the artists from like Soul Eater, Cowboy Bebop, and a lot of those guys, and he just really lays it on the page, and he's able to draw black characters in a like realistic and non-stereotypical way, obviously, because he's a black artist, so he wouldn't draw them looking crazy, but he just takes to another level with the manga style. And even the stuff when he did on Static, he really just revamped Static and brought him back into like a dope look, especially because a lot of black people love anime and manga, so I feel he was the perfect person to bring that series back. The new Milestone Initiative wasn't my favorite. Like a lot of those series were like hit or miss for me, but Static One really held up his worth, at least in my opinion. But like, look at this, and he did this. I don't remember when this came out. This is the last of this edition. They reprinted them in a different like format. They're the same size, but they're a little different. But I think this might have been when this came out. It says 2018. So, but the New York Caesar reprinted a lot of their books. I don't know if they're going to continue on with this series or what the plans is for the company. I don't know, but I'm just glad I was able to get this, and I really thoroughly enjoyed the Exogenesis. It was supposed to get an anime and all this. It had a lot of hype behind it. I don't know, again, like I don't know about all the business stuff and what happened, but it is a fantastic read. If you can, go pick it up and check it out, man. There's like a lot of dope. Just like look at this page, man. Like really great art, pretty dope story, and like again, Nicholas Draper Ivory is just one of those guys, man. One of those artists I wish would do more comics, but I think he's trying to lean more into like being a character designer or maybe work on anime and stuff like that, as opposed to being a comic book artist. And I don't blame him, because being a comic book artist is kind of tough, but when you produce work like this great and this good, you just want to see more. So yeah, that's so he has a lot of cool color pages in the back to this book. And I think he colored a lot of these traditional like watercolors, Copic markers, the whole nine. Super dope, man. Yeah, just go check it out. It's such a good manga. That's Exogenesis #1. And that was like one of the first mangas I got a while ago. This one is by an indie artist named Patio. I think I just found him on Instagram a long time ago, and he has a couple cool manga, but this is his first like real full manga. He kind of has like a similar like like old school early 2000s anime kind of style. Moonlayer Studios is his company. You can follow him on Instagram at that. I think he has like a couple other comics he's done. He's a really, really dope artist. I've met him a few times at some shows and conventions, and he's really, really dope. Really, really, really dope artist. And yeah, this book is super cool, super clean. It's called Gogo Nai Nazi. Yeah, Gogo Ganzi. and it's just really, really dope. I think he drew it all digitally, and it's just a real fun, cool manga. I don't know when the next one. I bought this a while ago, a couple years ago, so I don't know when the next one is coming out. I know he did a bunch of other comics in between that are like other stories. Like he's really like he's like a really, really good artist. Like he has a really, really dope style, especially like his this anime style, and he also has this really cool like um what's that guy's name? Uh Adam Hughes style I've been seeing on his Instagram. He's been doing like these really cool Copic marker drawings of like ladies and like people, and he has that similar uh style to like Adam Hughes in that way. He's just like a really good artist overall. 'Cause I think he's an art teacher. He lives in I think DC or maybe somewhere in Maryland. I've seen him like a bunch of shows around my area, and yeah, he hits on all cylinders with his artwork. Um, yeah, he's really good, really clean. So go pick this up. I'm pretty sure he has a lot of these, he has copies of this book on his Instagram. So that's Patio or Moon Layer Studios on Instagram. Go check him out. Super duper dope artist, creator, and he's a cool guy in general. The next one is Zan by Kishi World. Kishi World, again, I think I just followed him on Instagram a couple years ago when I first started this page, and I just loved his work. He's like a really, really dope manga artist. He's with him, and he has a collective called Manga Punk. And they do, I think if you go to mangapunk.com, you can read all these for free, but also they have like an anthology where you can read their books together, as well as um, like individual books, like all the books that have like full length, like a lot of chapters done, they have books in print. Keisha World also did the colors on my Nobody's Safe. The first 4 pages of Nobody's Safe, he colored them for me. So it was just really super dope. Like one of the first like collabs I did as an artist. And yeah, he's a dope artist, man. He has a really good style. The story, Zan, is pretty cool. It's real interesting. Has like some Egyptian themes, and his artwork is really, really great. His color work is really good as well. So go check him out on Instagram. And yeah, it's just like it's a cool manga. And I always find it amazing whenever I see people who are like super productive, right? Like that are able to get a lot of work done in like a short period of time, and and they're not like taking breaks or like cutting corners or doing everything, especially like a cartoonist, right, who kind of draw and do everything themselves. I always find that to be like inspiring, because that's essentially what I do, right? I'm a colorist. I mean, I'm a cartoonist. Like I write and draw everything. I don't have or work with any other people in that way. Sometimes lately I've been kind of getting colorists to color my stuff. That's just because I haven't just feel comfortable coloring yet. But that's something I'm gonna work on this year. That's like a goal of mine too. But yeah, look at that. That's super dope. See some other cool pages in here. Just like, yeah, this is super dope. Like really dope. I think he's been putting new chapters out lately on like I said, the Manga Punk website. Yeah, it's a really cool comic manga. Look at that. That's super cool. He's like this like kind of chibi style. Super fun. Really dope. And he has a lot of cool like just drawings on his Instagram as well, like of a lot of these pages and all that stuff. It's just super cool to check out and see. And yeah, let me see. Look at that. That's super cool. It's great. And I love how like all the characters are like these super like, he does a good job also of like, giving making his characters black and still having that anime manga feel to his characters. Yeah, it's really, really good, man. These pages are super dope. Yeah, great artwork, great story. Yeah. All right. The next one we're going to look at, I like that back cover too. That's super dope. Is by a cartoonist, he's a comic YouTuber, or he was. He doesn't really post anymore, but DD Mark. He was like a guy who I pretty much found early on as well. back into comics. He's a YouTube channel that I found, and he's pretty fairly popular. I think he's like 60, maybe 80K on YouTube. He used to post a lot, and he was also really productive, right? That's like a big thing. He was dropping pages like all the time. Like, and these weren't like short 24-page chapters. He was doing like 80-page chapters of his manga, Ruthless Render, which is like the one that really kind of popped him off. Before that, he had a bunch of other comics that kind of didn't do like crazy. But then, him like making his YouTube page and then blowing up from his YouTube page to like translate to this comic, because he posted this on Manga Plus, where they opened the like the app came out where you can amateurs can post their comics on there, and he posted this comic on there, and it went pretty much essentially viral. I'm pretty sure he still has one of the most popular comics on that website, especially for those first couple years. First like year, he was probably the most popular person on there. He was getting like millions of hits on his chapters and all that stuff. And then he ended up getting a deal with Dark Horse. That's what this book is published through. I think what he did was he essentially just like DM'd an editor and showed him his work, and then he got published to Dark Horse. And he has 2 volumes of this book out. And he probably would have had more, but he's like on a hiatus right now. I don't know what he has going on, but he was like one of the cartoonists that kind of inspired me to make a YouTube channel. Just kind of seeing how he used that, like leveraged his popularity on YouTube into getting people to read his book, and then that using that leverage to get a publishing deal, essentially, outside of the fact that he's also a really good artist. And you kind of saw in real time his art get better and better. He's also been published through like Viz Media and stuff. So he really like was able to live that manga, like streamed a lot of these like manga, mangaka YouTubers, right? That will like, post about stuff. And he was able to actually get that done, like get published by a real manga publication, right? Which is Viz Media. And, get, published to Dark Horse, and, really become an actual pro, right? And we saw that kind of in real time, which was like pretty crazy to see on, a person who's essentially was like a YouTuber to an extent, right? And yeah, it was just super cool. And again, I don't know, he hasn't posted nothing in a while, so we'll see if he ever makes a return. I'm sure he's still making comics and stuff, but he kind of, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, he was really that guy in that space, especially like in like again like the indie manga space that was kind of doing it pretty big, at least to the degree of like I said, going from YouTube cartoon like manga guy to actually being published by some of the bigger publications that produce manga, which is again is super inspiring, super dope to kind of see that trend evolution with somebody in a real time. He was kind of like white manga like 2.0 in the sense that he kind of did the same thing white manga was doing, but was able to, and this is like not a slight to white manga, but like kind of do it in a more efficient and faster way to get published through a mainstream publisher. Where I think my manga, if he really wanted to, he probably could have got published through like a like an Image or Dark Horse if he wanted to, but he decided to go the independent route and built up his own publication through Saturday AM. So there's more power to him, but that, doing it on your own comes with like a cost, I guess. But I don't think DD Mark is any more popular than him. I'm pretty sure they're about the same popularity. But yeah, again, Ruthless Render, super dope. Check out DD Mark on Instagram. He's not very active on anything right now, but I'm sure he'll get back active probably eventually. I don't know, but dope artist, dope manga. Go pick it up. You can just read it on Manga Plus for free still. Speaking of Saturday AM, Oblivion Rouge. This is probably one of my favorite books through their publication. Saturday AM was like one of the first like American independent manga publishers. They've been around for a while, and they got like their final kind of like big break a few years ago. They got a publishing or a distribution deal through Rockport, and there was another publication that helped through Rockport, and they pretty much helped them like produce and distribute all these books. And they kind of came out like swinging. I'm not gonna lie, they came out with a lot of, their flagship book were Hammer and Apple Black, which is white manga, and Jay Odin's books. And they had already had multiple chapters done for those books, so they had at least 4 volumes worth of comics out. And then they have some of their other artists as well that they produced throughout the year. They had a really massive deal, and especially for something like it was independent. And this was one of the dopest ones, Oblivion Rouge, by Pap Soleil Fall. and he was one of the artists under there. And this is like this manga essentially kind of reminds me of like Naruto if it was you know, from Africa, essentially. Like he Pop Soleil is from the Senegal, so he, you know, he kind of actually, you know, wrote his story through his own lens, but it kind of gives me Naruto vibes, where it goes from like, you know, we tell the story about this disease, they come and get these kids, and these people, like, these kids are used to become like child soldiers essentially, and they go through this training arc and all this other stuff. But it has such great art, and they emphasize on this green on there. I don't know if you can see that on that page, but like it's a lot of like green. It's like this only colors like green and like a purple. Like the purple is this disease, and the green is like this the powers. And yeah, and it's just like, super dope. A really really dope manga, really great, you know, artwork. The pacing is really good. It kind of goes really quick to where it's like, all right, we kind of get the what's going on, and then we jump straight to like a tournament arc, and it's really crazy. But like, look at this, like this is super crazy. And look at that page. And it's just like, you know, one of my favorites manga that they produced through Saturday AM. They have a lot of cool, high quality, you know, comics, I mean, and manga, right? This one, like, I really like the story. I really like the artwork. And it was definitely one of the ones that really stood out to me. Hopefully we can get some more volumes out in the near future. It's been a while. He has 2 volumes of this out, and I think he's just kind of, you know, I don't know. But definitely one of my favorites. Look at this, it's so cool. Like I love like the like minimal color schemes that they do put into this book. Like they use red, greens, and like this like weird off purple color. So I have a bookmark now. But like, yeah, like pages like this. And then like it goes from like we meet the main character to like this crazy ensemble of characters, and just like a lot of just, you know, again like these real Naruto kind of vibes. That's essentially kind of what it reminds me of. And it's just super dope, really cool. Highly recommend it. Saturday AM. I think you can pick it up through Amazon. Hey, look at that. Just fucking smash that guy's face into the wall. Super cool. Highly recommend picking it up. Like I love this panel. It's like one of my favorite panels in the whole book. Super Living Rouge. And so let's move on to some more. So this one is actually all these are by like the same guy. One of my favorite manga creators, Felipe Smith, who was one of the first American or like Westerners to go and be produced through Japan for his manga. He started off with Tokyo Pop. I made, you know, 2 videos about him. One about his series Pipocho, and then one about like his whole career as a whole and like totality, because I think it was really interesting to see him like go from his, you know, being a guy who essentially was never really a fan of comics or manga, and then kind of found it later in his life. And he was always an artist. Like he went to college for art and all this stuff. Got into manga later on in his life, probably like his like late teens, early 20s, and then you know, got produced through Tokyo Pop. He won like the competition, which we'll look at this because I just found this comic's really cool. And then for this comic, you know, getting his audition, this comic, The Rising Stars, Tokyo Pop deal, he ended up producing MBQ, which is there's 3 volumes of this, which is super rare to find for some reason. Like volume 1 and 3 are pretty like relatively easy to find, but volume 2 is like super hard to find for some reason. And then Pibucho, which he actually went to Japan, like he learned Japanese, went to Japan and produced this in Japan. And this is a super dope manga. Again, like I have a whole video about Pibucho. It's one of my more popular videos on the channel. It's a really, really good manga. Kind of like an Adult Swim meets like Japanese manga stuff. So, and the thing about Felipe Smith is really cool is that most of his manga are like really slice of life, like very like eccentric kind of like slice of life stuff, things about like his time, you know, like this comic is about his, you know, trying to get his manga published and how hard it was and how like, you know, that whole ordeal and how pissed off he was. This specific short story is about how pissed off he was at his editor for kind of, you know, fucking with his time and, you know, promising him he was going to get produced and published, and then ended up like last minute after he was already done drawing the comic, taking rescinding his commitment to publishing this comic. And so this comic is like a short comic by him going into like press his editor, and it's really fun, really really cool. Little short story, and it's this story kind of expands into MBQ in the same way, but he kind of tightens up his style and makes it more like cartoony, like less realistic, like with the kind of like funny faces and stuff. Like, so funny, super dope. And then he went from this, like he won this competition after going to like San Diego Comic-Con and applying. He won, and then he ended up doing MBQ, which is super dope. And this is again is more like about his life, trying to come up as a cartoonist, as a mangaka. It's super sick, man. Look at this. And it's like kind of like LA lifestyle stuff as well. And yeah, it's really, really good. Like I love this face. Like look at that. And this is a fun read as well. It's like again, it's the same thing as that short story, but just expanded. And, the characters are a lot more drawn out. It's obviously a little bit of like cartoony. Like it's not cartoony, but embellished, like the stories and stuff like that, and some of the characters, I'm sure, based on people he knows, but a lot of difference. So like this short, the first chapter is essentially an extension of the short story in the Rising Stars story. It seems like it like essentially just continues on after he leaves his editor, and then it kind of goes from there. And it's really cool. It's really fascinating, really, really interesting. Fuck. Need to drink some water. But yeah, I would highly pick it up. Sucks that Felipe Smith doesn't really do comics much anymore. I think he's into like animation and stuff now, and not really like he does like character designs and like layouts and stuff. For like he's worked for Ninja Turtles. I think the last thing he did like really in comics, he helped create what's that fool's name? Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider, which is like the new Ghost Rider. So really dope. And then Pipacho, can't really show this too much on screen because it's pretty like X-rated comics, but it's super dope. And again, like he actually like learned Japanese, went to Japan, and like did the whole again like that. A lot of that's kind of like the weeb or like otaku like fantasies to be able to go over there and like learn Japanese, and and it's funny because that's what this comic is about. Essentially, is like that fantasy of going to Japan and thinking what you see in the manga is what you're actually going to see when you get to Japan. And it's like a culture shock comic essentially. And it's it's really really well thought out, I think, and a good message behind that idea of like appropriating cultures through the mass media, but not actually taking the time to care about that culture and actually learn the real nuances and all that. So yeah, so that's all the manga that I got that's produced by Black creators. So now we're gonna move on to my comics pile. So a lot of these are a lot of independent comic artists that I found through like Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. Some of them are Kickstarters that I backed or bought off their websites and stuff. And some other ones are like ones who produced like Image Comics and other publications like that. So first one is Power Knights by Keith Jones and Noble Ward. This is a comic by a guy I found on Instagram, I believe. And Keith Jones is really cool. He actually runs a Black Comics con in San Diego. He does it every year. And it's, I actually never, it's really cool. Look, he has a lot of great artists that show up and creators, and it's pretty popular out there. This comic is really dope. He did like all the artwork, colors, and all that. It's really really cool. It's like essentially it's a comic that he was like a story he thought of as like a kid, and then he expanded it and actually produced it. But he does a lot of commercial work. He does like children's books and things like that. Most of his main stuff that he does. But he's a really really dope artist. You can check him out. I think it's KID Comics, I think, on Instagram. And this is I think he might have some copies left, but I bought this a while ago. And it's just a super dope comic about like a teen, kind of like 90s vibes, kind of like era he kind of came up on. Super, super sick. Kenneth Jones, San Diego, California. It's really dope. The next one we're gonna look at is from TDJ Comics. TDJ, he actually did some of the colors for the Awol covers. He's a really, really dope artist. He has a really cool style, and he's like a really like great like colorist, and as well as just a straight up artist. He actually has a Kickstarter going on right now for the third and fourth issues of this series Atlas, and he's just like overall just a really, really good artist, like somebody who has the ability to essentially do everything, right? That's what he has, right? He can draw, write, and color, and he's like a really, really good colorist. He does a lot of the colors for a lot of different comics that you've probably seen, like independent comics, you know. And he's just really, really good at it. Like, look at these pages, like this is pro level stuff. I'm honestly baffled that he doesn't do it. Like, he hasn't been like produced through a like a mainstream company. You know, I don't know if he has any ambitions to do that, or what, you know, what the holdup is, or what, you know. But he, like, to me, he's like up there as far as just like a comic book artist goes, especially somebody who's like in these indie spaces. Like, look at these pages, like really, really sick. Yeah, you can check him out at tdjcomics.com, and also he has again, like, he has a Kickstarter running right now where you can get the third and fourth issue, or the full trade, I believe, of Atlas. Next one is Air Rider High School Hero by Comic Ken. If you guys know him, he's on YouTube as Comic Ken. I've, you know, talked to him a few times online. He's a really dope channel. He talks a lot of stuff, comics and stuff. Right now, he's working on a new web comic. But this was his first comic he was working on a couple years ago. He has 2 issues of this out, and it's really, really dope. Hopefully, he can get back and finish the story for this. But yeah, he's another one of those guys who's able to color and also draw really well. And yeah, this is a really cool, really, really dope comic. A lot of, you know, fun and great cartooning on here. Love the vibes. Yeah, go check him out, a Comic Ken, on YouTube and on Instagram. Give him a follow. Really, like, you know, really, really dope guy and cool comic. These other ones. So this is a comic from Image called Excellence, and essentially it's just like wizards, kind of like a Harry Potter, but the characters are essentially like blacks, to like these black families. Really, really dope artwork from Kari Randolph, and then the artist writer Brandon Thomas. And it was just like a really, really fun, interesting read about like this family of line of like people, sorcerers, and they kind of keep their like secret about their magical powers, and it's like how the main character essentially was supposed to be like this powerful legacy wizard, you know, from this powerful legacy line, you know, bloodline, and he's like not very good. Like, he's like, it takes him a while to kind of get his powers and all this stuff, and then he ends up going like rogue against the family, and it's really, really dope. Kari Randolph is like one of my like favorites. He's a dope artist. And yeah, this series is really, really good. It was kind of deep and dense, you know, like the like the story and the art, like kind of like the understanding of what's going on. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like the last, because I got there's like eight chapters or 12 volumes, and in the last like few, I was kind of confused on what was going on, like, because it goes through like multiple different timelines and does all these crazy like time jumps and stuff. And it's kind of funny because of the like the character design, like the main character is like designed after like Michael B. Jordan, which is funny because when this came out, I think Michael Jordan was kind of like on this. I mean, he's just as popular now as he was then, probably even more popular. But it's funny how, you know, they kind of designed him after Michael B. But yeah, it's a cool, really, really cool manga or comic. You get, so these are available, I think, through Skybound and Image. Oh shit, really, really good. Next one is from the Brother Man, the relaunch of Brother Man, Guy Sims, Brian McGee, and Dawab Anawible. They were, one of the first like super popular black comics back in the 90s. They kind of got their first like the original Brother Man came out back then, and it was just like a huge hit, like a local underground hit. I actually have the original ones right here, and yeah, it was just like again like a hit underground. They were on like all like the 90s hit like talk shows and stuff, and then it was like a family thing. Like it was like the brothers, and they had like this printing press and all the whole nine. And then slowly they kind of stopped working on the comic for like just because like family stuff, and then just kind of like they the like the artists and the writers kind of went on to do a bigger things like like Guy Simmons writes a bunch of like children's books, and same thing with um Duab. He writes and draws a lot of um like children's books as well, works on like movies and animations and stuff. Yo, what's up, Ami? Thanks for stopping by, man. I really appreciate it. But yeah, so like this is a super dope. This is like the relaunch. They kind of revamped Brother Man in 2017. They did like a Kickstarter, went crazy, and they kind of like did like a whole backstory of like the big city stuff. And it's actually really, really good. I love the style and artwork in here, and then kind of the revamping of the whole entire story. Hopefully they can get back to doing this, but I don't see that really happening just because they are like the main two people who work on this are like just busy doing like commercial work. Like I said, like they do like novels, children's books, animations, and stuff. So it's like whenever I guess they got time, they will come back to doing Brother Man. But I love this like super extended perspectives and all this good stuff. Super, super, super sick. Yeah. And this is great colors as well. Like, look at that. That's fire. Yeah, like that is like, look at that. I love that perspective in the hand. That page is really sick. Just more fire stuff. Yeah. This is a cool comic, and this one's kind of hard to find also. Like it's not in print anymore, so I was kind of lucky when I got it at a good price. It's really, really dope. All right, oh snap. I got a few more left, and then we'll get to drawing and working on that Ghost Rider piece. This one. This is cool. So this is Sentences by Percy Carey and Ronald Wimberly. Ronald Wimberly is like one of my favorite cartoonist artists. He's like a great writer and also dope artist. And this is a comic about MF Grimm, who was like a person who kind of helped MF Doom kind of get into the game. And it's about his story of like coming up and how he ended up in a wheelchair and all this crazy stuff. And it's really, really done, like drawn and written really well. Really great comic. Again, Ronald Wimberly is like a super dope cartoonist. Excuse me. And he definitely deserves a lot more work and do more comics. I don't know what I know he has like a newspaper that he does called Lab, and it's really, really cool. Has a lot of great articles and artists and comic strips and stuff in there. But I would love to see him do more comics. But yeah, this is like a just autobiography comic about MF Grimm and kind of like his life and how he came up and all that jazz. And it's really, really fun. It's just a true story about somebody who I never really knew about, so again, it's fun to see these stories and kind of learn about people who are more influential than so that's Sentences. And then I got two more that I'm gonna show. This one is Bottoms 4 by Ben Passmore and Ezra Clayton Daniels. And this is essentially like a comic about like essentially the story is like about gentrification, but used as like a metaphor for gentrification, where like there's like this monster in this apartment complex that's kind of grown in the hood, and how it's kind of like destroying the area, which like again is like and this girl moved into that apartment complex, and again it's a metaphor for like gentrification and just kind of how that ruins the community and the cultures around it and stuff like that. It's a really, really good comic. Ben Passmore's a dope cartoonist. It's really simple, like layouts. It's like, kind of like a webtoon s layout, but I like it. It was really fun, interesting read. Great colors. Like, look at that. I love that. And then last but not least, and this is a comic I've talked about a lot. I'm not really gonna look through too much of it, but this is a comic I recommend all the time for Black, stories. This is probably one of the top Black comics that in mind that I've read. I feel like that's done, a profound job of making Black history and mixing up with fantasy, steampunk, and cyberpunk vibes. It's fully Black from beginning, middle, end. Writers, artists, all that. And that's Bitterroot. This comic again, I talked about this multiple times in my video essays. I recommend this to everybody. It's just a great story about just what about people whose hate can turn them into literal monsters, and how this Black family has to go about saving these people, and whether or not they want to save these people from turning into these monsters, and how they essentially just kind of have to deal with this, right? And this is like a metaphor for just like how Black people essentially have to live through every day in America. And this one starts in the Harlem Renaissance. They had a secondary follow-up story in the 60s, and I don't know what the next one's going to be, probably like the 80s or 90s, but it's really just super dope. Sanford Greed is a fire artist. And again, it's just like a really, really good comic. Great story, great metaphors. It also kind of goes through a lot of like Black history and intertwines it, like real life Black history, and intertwines it within the pages of the comic. They kind of talk about the Red Summer. They talk about the Tulsa Massacre, and do it in a way that makes sense in the story, but also doesn't like negate or disrespect that history in any way. Right? It's really, really dope, man. Yeah, so I would highly recommend picking up this omnibus off of Amazon. It's really worth it. I think so. And then after that, going to check out the follow-up series in the 60s, which kind of follows the like the Montgomery boycotts and all that stuff. And again, they kind of follow the monster hunters and how they go about doing all that. So yeah, Bitterroot, man, it's really dope. I think they're gonna do a Kickstarter for the next book iteration, which I don't know when that's supposed to come out sometime this year. I think they're still working. I know they announced it on the Black Comic Lords the Black Comic Lords channel. So if you guys go check out their marathon, they did it, and they had those guys on there, and they're talking about how they're planning to do a Kickstarter, which is like an anthology of other creators, and they're going to do their own stories that represent it within the Bitterroot world. But yes, and now we're gonna just chill, and we're gonna do a drawing. I got this pencils for my Ghostwriter drawing I did this weekend, and then I'm gonna ink it right now, and we can just chill and just talk about whatever. Yeah, we'll go check it out for sure. Ami Yumi, that's really, really dope. But again, like I said earlier in the stream, I'm running a Kickstarter right now for my manga, Awol. So 160 pages, fully done. Essentially, this campaign is just to get the book printed and straight to your doors. It is completely funded already. So essentially now I'm just getting as many more people that want to back and support as I can before it closes. There's 5 days left to support. The link is in the chat, and it's also in the description of the video. These are some of the covers. Like this cover was colored by TDJ. This one as well. This one was colored by Comic Can. So a lot of the comic book artists that I've read and support, I also reach out to help me color some of my stuff and collab with them as well. And these are some of the covers. This is my cover. This is the cover for some other dope artists: Kevin Tran, Anthony Haddix. This one's super fire. The other one, and they're all fire. Ryan James Webb, and these are some of the tiers: a digital tier, physical backings, the variant covers, all the covers. Also, you can get original art from the book as well, and some of the add-ons and some of the old, like of the Avox Comics bibliography, like my Spider-Man Nobody's Safe book, which I got colors actually in some of these on this book from Kishi World, whose manga I showed earlier in the stream. My comic Tit for Tat, Troll Call, and the Dragon Ball Z Grand Design, which is like our a bootleg anthology Dragon Ball Z book that I did with a couple other dope artists. Here's some of the pages. So yeah, there's about 5 days left to support the campaign. So if you can, I really appreciate it. Yeah, let's get back to drawing. Oh man, hell yeah, I would definitely appreciate it. And yeah, I appreciate it. So, all right, let's get to drawing. So Yumi, are you a artist as well? Do you like what stuff do you draw? Or, like, are you like a manga comic book fan, or are you just like a what kind of art do you do if you are you know an artist yourself? Move some of that stuff out of the way. Let me go turn some music on as well. So I just did. Uh, lo-fi. Copyright. Let me see. I can put try this and see if it gets any loud. One second. I'm trying to put this music in here. I don't know how loud it is. I don't want it to be too loud. Let me see. Because last time I had it and it was kind of loud. Let me see. Audio, mic, okay, audio, guest. I don't know. Just let me know if it's loud. Let me know if it's loud. I don't know if it's how loud it is. Turn my mic down a little bit. No, whatever. I guess if it's too loud, just let me know and I'll try and see if I can turn it down. All right, whatever. Fuck it. Yeah. Oh snap, for real? That's dope. What graphic design work do you usually do? Like, do you work for like magazines, websites, or stuff like that? Like, I do. The only graphic design really I do is for I love manga. Oh hell yeah! So what kind of graphic designs do you have you done? Like again, like magazines or like certain companies or stuff like that. And then like for me, the only graphic design really I do is like when I do my thumbnails for my videos, like for like my main channel and for this channel also. I kind of like taught myself how to use Affinity Designer, which essentially is just like a kind of like bootleg Photoshop. Well, and what manga do you really like? What is like some of your favorites or some of the stuff that you've like read over the years that you that you've been checking out? I've kind of like I manga I've kind of been like hit or miss for me lately. I just finished reading one manga this weekend. Actually, I read it. Kind of read it when I was on vacation. It's called Happiness. It's by the guy who did the Death Flower. I think that manga is, and Blood on the Tracks. Like I can hear you. All right, sweet. It's Or you say you can or you can't hear me? You can or can't? Let me see. Let me see. I'm checking. Massacre. Let me see. I'm checking. Oh yeah, you can see me. All right, sweet. All right. Sweet, sweet. All right, I'm turn this off. All right, yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah, it's called Blood. It's called Happiness. It's about like this kid that gets turned into a vampire and like how he has to deal with turning into a vampire and stuff. It's less of a vampire manga and more of like this kind of like psychological manga about like when you're gifted these things that you might think will make you happy and how you kind of deal with this stuff and how you kind of find happiness in like poor situations and stuff. But it's also encompassed by like a horror vampire story, right? Like every character in there kind of has like this thing that they want that's gonna make them happy, and what they do to find this happiness or get that what they deem would make them happy ends up either like having negative repercussions or kind of doesn't get them to the spot that they think that's going to get them in the way that they think is going to happen. And it's really, really good. It was pretty short. It was like 60 chapters, I think. Came out a long time ago, but it's really good. It's like a vampire kind of horror, but more psychological than anything. There are like fight scenes and action and stuff, but it's not like super miraculous like a vampire story you think it would be. It's definitely dark and definitely uh yeah, it gets dark. Like it gets dark pretty quick. Like halfway through the manga, it gets pretty dark, and then it kind of brings itself back up. And the guy, he does a good job. I mean, I've read his manga before, and I didn't know he's done like so many other. Like I read Blood on the Tracks a long time ago, and if you don't know what that is, it's like the manga about this mom who essentially like this psychopath, and this son who has to deal with her psychopath mom, and kind of you know, that thing. It's kind of like a similar vibe. It's kind of like a psychological horror thriller kind of vibes, and it was really good. I read it a couple years ago, and then I picked up Happy. Oh, I picked up Death of the Flower recently, and then it kind of led me down a rabbit hole of his other manga, and then I saw that he was the guy that did Happiness, which is a manga that I've seen a bunch online and stuff. I just never really had an inclination to pick it up until this weekend. And I just started reading it. I kind of done a bit of everything. I'm currently a lead designer, tech company. I do a lot of designs for trade shows. Oh, that's just something, man. That's dope. Yeah, graphic design is pretty cool. Like you can get some good jobs doing graphic design and stuff. Especially like when I see people who are like really really good at doing Photoshop and like blending and making things kind of look like a flush image, or how to accentuate like people's faces and stuff. It's like, man, if I took a little bit more time and actually like looked and studied, how to do that, I would. But like my main artistic hobby is comics, so making comics and drawing comics is something that I really put more of my time and effort into doing than graphic design. Like my graphic design knowledge at this point is formatting my books for print, and then doing my thumbnails for the channel. And I've like learned pretty much like, again, like just force myself to learn how to do like make enticing thumbnails essentially, but eventually I want to learn how to do more like the um like how to do all the hype and cooler like effects and stuff like that. As far as manga, man, we can talk forever about it. I do have a lot of favorites put on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, I think I've kind of outgrown the shonen manga, like the battle manga, outside the ones that I grew up on, like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. I definitely lean more into like seinen, slice of life, um, mystery, horror manga now. I think I'm more into those genres than like, battle, manga and stuff. I just don't think I have like that type of formulaic storytelling. Kind of, it doesn't really do it for me anymore. Like this whole like, oh, I'm gonna get as powerful as I can, defeat this guy, and then just this guy, they hype this, the bad guy to be the strongest person in the world, and then they beat him, and then they end up, oh well, he wasn't the strongest. There's another guy who's more powerful, and there's this guy who's more powerful. And it kind of gets, it's cool when you're like, I guess, at least for me, when I was a teenager. And it doesn't mean I'll check some shonen manga out for like the artwork, because they do have really exciting artwork and fight scenes still, but it's not my cup of tea anymore. It's not like something that I'm like gonna want to continue to read. Like I'm gonna read the first couple of chapters, just kind of get the vibe for it, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I can see why people like this, and then kind of move on. But yeah, like horror, psychological stuff, thrillers, obviously action stuff like Berserk and stuff like that, but those are more like action with more of adult themes, and like more like real world stakes, and people will like actually die and things like that. I also read like sports manga, like Ping Pong is one of my favorite mangas. Blue Lock was really fire. I need to catch back up on that eventually. um Slam Dunk was really cool. I like Slam Dunk, but that was super duper long. I read the first couple of volumes of that, and I was like, oh, I'll read it maybe more later on as I get more time to want to sit down. Vinland Saga is really good as well. I'm trying to think. 20th Century Boys, Monster, Pun Pun, a lot of those type of more like crazy vibe manga than the popular shonen stuff. Like I could still read Naruto. I still love Naruto. I can still read Dragon Ball Z as well and check it out. But that's just for nostalgia. From nostalgia more than anything, you know. What about you? What are you reading and checking out, or you have a lot of in your collection? Like Ace and Borderlands. I think I've seen it. I think don't they have a show of Ace and Borderlands? I think they have that one. I might have to check it out. There's like the thing about manga. There's like so many of them. There's so many like ones that come out all the time, and then like the series be so freaking long. I'm like, oh my god, this is like 10, 20 volumes of a book. Like, oh, do I want to read this? Like, get into it and want to read. I like manga that are already done. Like that's why like when I saw Happiness, I was like, oh, this is 9 manga. This is only nine volumes, and that's light. Like I can read it. Like it wasn't like super heavy with dialogue. It was more like action, a lot of stuff going on. And so I was like, oh, I can read this, and I read it completely done. March story is also pretty good. It's Korean. Yeah, there's a lot of good Korean. What they call them, manhwa or whatever that are out there. There's a lot of good, those type of stories. Especially like the ones that are like on webtoons. So a lot of people are really into a lot of them. I never really got into the whole webtoon thing. Maybe that's just, I like the traditional, you know, panel layout, not the scroll. I don't really care much for the scroll stuff, but I can see the appeal for it for sure. Yeah, Blue Lock is fire. I ain't gonna lie. Blue Lock is like, I started reading Blue Lock a couple years ago, and I was like, man, this is really, really good. And like, these guys are crazy. I just think sports manga are really like, I'm a sports guy. I love basketball. So like, when I read a sports manga, it's really good because so much drama that can be incorporated with like sports. So, and I just find it really crazy and amazing how like in Japan, there's like um this whole demographic of mangaka, like manga that are sports related, and but in like in America there's no market for like sports comics outside of like ones that are like for kids and stuff, for like biography ones. I'm like, why is that? Why are there no I that's like one of my goals in mind in the future, to do like a basketball comic, like that's like a story, not just, oh, this is the story of Michael Jordan or the history of basketball or like whatever, like something that's more dramatic and dope, kind of like a slam dunk, or more of American, a real like American version, like a story of actual like basketball players and what they go through in America, and how all that stuff. That's something I really, because I played basketball growing up and I really loved it. I still love it to this day, and I think it would just be a fun story to do that. Right now, hell yeah, Naruto fire. They canceled the show. Yeah, I think they did. I think I saw that they had the show for that. And the thing is, was it Hellbound's another one they did back in during the pandemic? That was one that came out. I check it out. A lot of manga to come out, man. This Ghost Rider's coming out cool, man. But yeah, I like manga. I like all of it. I like, as far as like American comics, I've been keeping up with. I've been reading like Absolute Batman, Wonder Woman, Geiger, Kaya. Those are really good series that I really enjoy and am very much, really, really loving and stuff. Really great art. But yeah, manga, I don't know. I mean, like again, it's just like the only manga that I've actively reading right now that's still like in publication is Chainsaw Man, and that's because I'm already caught up. But like the thing about manga, when you fall off, like if you don't, like, I was caught up on like One Punch Man, Jujutsu. Well, I finished all Jujutsu Kaisen. Was not a really big fan of that manga, but I just finished it because I was already up on it. And My Hero Academia was up on, and what's the other one, man? The one, the swords, with the guys who have the grimoires, the magic books. Black something. Anyways, I read all of those. I was up to date, and then I kind of fell off on them, except for Chainsaw Man. And it's just hard to keep back up. Like I still got to finish My Hero. I got to finish some of the other ones as well. But yeah, Haiku. I know Haiku. I have not read Haiku. I got to check it. I know it's really good as well, like volleyball. And that's what I'm talking about. Is like, it's crazy how like, there's all these crazy manga that are like super popular with these like super I would like kind of say like niche sports, you know, like volleyball is popular, but it's like popular, like it's like a popular Olympic sport. There's no like super popular professional league. There isn't a popular volleyball player that isn't like outside of like popular within their space of you know, the volleyball, you know, realm. So I think it's crazy how there's all these super popular manga based off these like super niche sports, you know, and there's like none in America for some reason. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Like, and you know, sports are the more popular thing out here, but I think it's more of a matter of just people only like they only care, they just like watching the actual sport. They don't want to read anything about it unless it's like a movie, again, like a documentary or something like that. Like they don't want to read like a dramatization of a you know, basketball movie or a football movie, unless it's like based off of something that's real, you know. Oh yeah, Black Clover. Yep, Black Clover. Yeah, I fucked the Black Clover, man. It took me a minute to get into it, and then I was because I watched the manga when it first. I mean, the anime when it first came out, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. So I started reading the manga, and then I was up to date on it. I got all the way up to where they. I was pretty far into it. They already beat the first devil, and like we found out. Like I was on the part where they kind of find out the history of what's the main character, like his backstory and how he has a demon inside of him and all that shit. And then I kind of stopped reading after that. Like they found out his mom and all that stuff. And yeah. Oh, for real? Chainsaw Man. That's super dope. Yeah, I was Batman for Christmas. Well, I had a Batman mask. Um my son was Sonic, my daughter was Tinkerbell, my wife was Catwoman. I'm not really like I don't really dress up for Halloween. I haven't like I stopped dressing up for Halloween like um in high school. I mean like even before high school. I don't know why. I just was never really into like wearing costumes and stuff. Yeah, out there I was kind of a kid. I was like, yeah, it's cool. And I mean, I like cosplays though. Like I like when I go to conventions and shows and I see people with like super crazy costumes. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, this is super dope. These dudes are like, yo, the craftsmanship they put into that stuff is super awesome. So that's dope that you made your own Chainsaw Man costume. I fuck with Chainsaw Man, man. I just finished watching the Chainsaw Man movie last week, I think. Yeah, I watched it. It was pretty good. I enjoyed the animation, the story, and how I like how like when I remember when I was reading Chainsaw Man, or when I do read it, I don't really see it as like a super serious manga. It's more kind of funny, goofy, but it has like, you know, great themes. Obviously, it's a great story about, you know, becoming a human and what it means to be like a boy, and you know, all that stuff, right? A lot of different interpretations. That's kind of how I interpret it. But and how like in the manga, I mean the anime is like super serious. Like the way they kind of give the vibe of like it just being like this super like serious, dramatized, and like the score and all that, and how they animate it. It's super like, you know, like super dramatic, man. I don't know why. So I just remember reading it. I don't remember like perceiving it as like a really dramatic story. And maybe that's just like the way they just kind of wanted the directors and stuff who work on it kind of wanted to be. But I just think it was kind of funny. Like when the first season came out, the anime, I was like, why is it so serious? Like it seems like the vibe is so different than how I read it when I was, you know, actually, you know, yeah, when I was reading this. Like I just kind of saw it as kind of like a funny, kind of go lucky esque type story with, you know, obviously serious and dramatic parts. But I was like, yeah, this is not. I don't think it's that serious. But yeah, I was like, that was funny. Oh, that's what's up, man. What shows do you do any like have you gone to any conventions and stuff? I've been to a few this last couple years. I tabled at a few local ones as well. You know, selling some of my books that I have. Um, but yeah, I love going to shows, seeing like the crazy cosplays and stuff. It's super fun. Takes much to put two and two. Also, what programs do you use for your your design stuff? Are you like a Photoshop, Adobe, Sweet guy? Do you do other? Do you use anything else? Like I would, man. I want to like. The only reason I don't like Photoshop or I don't want to use Photoshop is because of the subscription base, and I'm just like, bro, I'm not trying to pay a subscription for this stuff. That's the same reason why I don't use Clip Studio Paint. Like I use Procreate when I do digital drawings. The Affinity Designer Suite, I use all that because I just like, well, I would rather just own the whole thing instead of having to pay every month. But Photoshop seems like the thing about Photoshop is there's a lot more tutorials online, and I think you can also just like buy the methods, like how people kind of just do their own things, and you can just kind of just. I think that's something that people do. But like Affinity is like there's only specific niche creators online who have tutorials on Affinity, and it's like super hard. And also I don't know the like lexicon behind like, oh, how to do this effect and this effect. So it's something that I've always had to like kind of learn. Like, but like again, I kind of feel like I kind of got my formula down for thumbnails, so I don't really stress too much about it anymore about like using the programs, even though I guess maybe I'm not maximizing what I could be doing on these on the programs. I only use Affinity Photo. Like I have Designer, I have Publisher, and I need to utilize them more. I'm sure I can get more out of them if I did, but I just don't. GalaxyCon, OtakuCon, GalaxyCon, TechCon. Oh, that's what's up. Yeah, I've been to GalaxyCon Richmond. That's the one that's local, close to me. It was pretty cool. I like that one. I've been to Heroes Con 2 times. Atlantic Comic Con. I was tabled at Atlantic Comic Con this past year, and then the year before that was first year I just went as a guest, and it was pretty cool. I like it. Illustrator and Adobe, yeah, Adobe, yeah. Everybody, I feel like a lot of people use Adobe because it's just like a, the legacy one. Maybe one day I'll pick it up and check it out and just try it out. I mean, I've used it in the past when I was younger, but I just was using what's more cost efficient for me and just what made more sense. And I'm pretty much used to using Affinity at this point, where it's like, do I really want to learn another program? And I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be that hard. Like I said, there's so many tutorials, years and years worth of tutorials online on how to use it, but I'm sure I can, get more out of it if I did. I don't know why I draw all these chains, man. I not like having their ink on this stuff later, but fuck it. Atlantic Comic Con is cool because that one's like a new black convention. It's like a lot of black artists, a lot of black creators. The person who runs it is black. It's super cool. Like I want to go to like DreamCon, Blurred Con. What else is there? There's like a lot of them out there, and I really want to check a lot of those out here in the next couple years and table more of them. That's why I'm like doing these, trying to get more comics out and produce. So I have a lot of different varieties of stories to take to the shows and stuff. So and then doing the Awol Kickstarter, like having a whole full trade of a book out, I think is cool and more enticing for people to want to pick up than floppies. It's just something I kind of noticed that like shows that when you have a full graphic novel or something or manga or whatever, this is more enticing for people to want to pick it up, at least in my mind. Oh yeah, artist alley. Yeah, man, I mean, vending is cool, man. It's such an interesting like thing to do. It's fun. I'm a person who I think I do a pretty good job. I'm not a person who sits down behind this table and like just kind of like wait for people to come up to me. I'm always very like social. I'm like, oh hey, how you doing? Da da da, and kind of get people to come to my shows and talk and all that good jazz. Every single show I've done so far, and most of them, I would say they're not like super like big shows yet. So, but all of them I've made my money back on my table back for the most part, and then profit as well. So that's super dope. My bad job, Adobe. That's dope. Yeah, that makes sense though. Like a lot of those places would already have like the suite for the company. Like I know people who were like in school, they'll like take advantage of like their school and they'll use the Adobe stuff there. Like there's a YouTuber that I followed. He uses like he's in college or he was. I don't know if he still is, but he was in college and while he was using the Adobe stuff to help like the Adobe the editing software to edit his videos. And I just think it's cool. But yeah, that's interesting though. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you've ever tinkered with the Affinity Designer, but I don't know. I wonder what the like if there's like a real stark deep difference behind using one or the other. Like I don't think so. But again, I haven't used Photoshop relatively, at all really in the like nowadays. So like I used it back in the day when on my dad when he had it on his computer, and it was like a Photoshop 2 or 3 or some shit like that, like one of the older Photoshops. Um, but I'm sure it's way different now because you can have an iPad. Because I do all my stuff on my iPad, and then I like for this stuff like my illustrations, um, I'll print it out and ink it like on blue line just because I like to do that. But I just think I don't know. Did you go to school for graphic design? I imagine you probably did. Are you using instead liner? Yep. I'm using Copic multi-liners to ink. I usually use Copic multi-liners and then I use what's it called? The Tombos for like my more steadier lines and stuff. Or like my more like brush pen look, and then I got a Pentel pocket brush recently. I use this for like more dynamic stuff, and I'm using to kind of fill in some blacks in this stuff right here. But yeah, no, it's a Copic multi-liner. I like these a lot. God bless. God bless America. I would lay some zips down on here, but I'm like, man, I don't want to do any. I don't want to use any Zipatone tonight, man. Zipatone is the most inefficient. Like it adds such a cool effect to your art, but it's like super time inefficient. Like I'm just like I don't know how back in the day all those manga back, were using the Zipatone or like how their assistants doing that crap. But fuck that. I would have hated to be an assistant a manga assistant. My whole entire job was to lay out Zipatone because it's so tedious to use. Man, freaking sucks. I did. Oh snap! What school did you go to? If you don't mind sharing. I remember when I was younger, I wanted to go to art college. Like I was like, man, I want to go to SCAD. I got a comic book. What's it called? Program. I was like, man, I want to be a comic book artist so bad. Da, da, da. I didn't end up doing that, but I still ended up making comics, so it didn't matter. But it would have been cool, I guess, to kind of go and just get that experience. But I don't know. I know there's like people. I know people that went to the Cuber school, but it's crazy. I didn't know that the Cuber school doesn't give you an actual degree, which is always kind of like, well, what's the point of even going if you're not even getting any accreditation or any like a job leaving there? Like half the point of going to college, to me at least, is like outside of like getting degrees to find like the connections to help you with your career, But it's kind of like a waste of money to me if you're not gonna get like anything. Like if you're not gonna get a degree or any connections to the industry, what the heck are you going to that school for? I like Copic. His deadline is the best. I have all of those. Yeah, there's a lot of different pens and stuff. I haven't really like because I usually do a lot of brush like pen stuff, so I never really worked with too many. Like I've used microns and I think I've had a few Stedlers before as well, but I just like the multi-liners. I don't know why what made me pick them, but I just like this is cool. It's good enough because like again I'm not like super using all these lines that much, only for like the fine marks, and that's kind of it. You went to Art Institute. Did you like the Art Institute when you went? I think one of the um one of the comic book artists that I showed off earlier, I think he went to one as well. It's the Art Institute. I don't think it's around. It's not around no more, right? Isn't it? Didn't go out. Maybe I'm thinking of a different school. But I think maybe he went to DeVry or some shit. He went to one of those art schools, and it ended up going under, and he had to like transfer. I remember him talking about it like in an interview. He had to transfer his to a different school in order to like continue with his degree, which that sucks. But well, at least you were able to get work. I know there's just horror stories out here, or like on interviews with artists, and how like they would go to art school and then they didn't get no work out of it, or they didn't like it didn't lead to anything, and they had to like work like a regular non-art job for like the longest until they found something, or they never did, and which that would that would be suck because art jobs I feel like are really hard to come by, especially like steady income. Unless you're like gonna go into commercial work and stuff like that. But even that, I'm sure it was probably difficult for you to even find your your job. Whereas like I have a regular job and then I just do art as a hobby essentially. Like I take it seriously. Like I practice and actually like take it as a real like as a professional, at least to at least to the length that I'm able to. Like I'm not at the drawing table fucking 8 hours a day, but I at least spend I would say like maybe 4 hours a night, like after I put my kids and stuff to sleep, um, on the draft table, working on comics book stuff or YouTube stuff. You know, where I'm working on pages, storyboards and all that stuff. Yo, what's up, Ian? Appreciate you for stopping by, bro. I want to say hi. Like because they don't smudge shop as much. Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I like the feel of a brush. Like I always like the look of brushes and how you can get like crazy lines. But I like the deadline style also. I think it kind of, but it's like that's kind of like I guess like a preferential thing. I don't know. I just like my lines looking crazy and like having super like a flow with it, you know. But I mean, you can do that with the Copics and like these type of pen ink pens. But I don't know. I'm going to fix some of this stuff, and I'm gonna. Funny thing about Ghost Rider, I remember the first movie came out on my birthday, and I remember going to go see it, the Nicolas Cage one for my birthday. I remember I was like, yeah, Ghost Rider's pretty cool, I guess. Definitely like a character that's kind of underutilized. I feel. I wonder if they're ever gonna bring it back. I did. School learned a lot. Yes, most. Oh, these are closed. Oh, damn, that's tough. But yeah, that's dope though. I mean, going to school, like art school, like I think it definitely is a benefit, but I think it's what you do after is what really matters. I don't know. Like I just, you have to really like, I don't know. It seems like you have to really get on top of what you're gonna go, what field you're gonna go into before, or you graduate, or you're gonna be stuck out. So you were able to like finish your degree out at the Art Institute before it went out. Right. Let me think what I'm gonna do with that. I think I'm just gonna black all this part. Marker. It's so funny how like in the early 2000s, all of like the Marvel Knight characters were the popular characters in the movies and stuff. Like um, Ghost Rider, Punisher, Daredevil, Elektra, Blade. Like all of those characters were like the characters that were had movies made by them outside of like X-Men and Spider-Man. And now all those characters have been like reverted down to like nothing. Like in the early 2000s, it was like more like everybody wanted the more grounded heroes that were more relatable. And now it's the complete opposite. 20 years later, it's all like we want the fantastical, the crazy space adventures, the epic battles and stuff. Which I mean, I don't mind. I understand because it obviously is way cooler and it obviously generated way more money than those movies ever did. But it's just funny how that kind of like the tides turned, and then now if you're not doing anything super epic, those things are they don't really get as much love or support, in that way. So in the field to graduate. And that's what's up, man. That's dope that you were able to find a good, a career, make a career out of going, to art school. That's super sick. Were you offered like jobs or were you like interning before you graduated and stuff and all that jazz, or like you were like super into it? Dang, 13 years. Oh snap! Damn, you must be legit then. I would love to see like your portfolio and see what you've done because eventually I want to up my graphic design game also, but that's for later on. Like I like my main creative focus is comics. Obviously, like, I want to be the best sequential storyteller I can possibly be and make as many dope stories as well. But learning how to be a graphic designer also will help, like making dope covers and laying out my books and how to make them look cool and stuff. Which is something I've slowly learned over the last couple of years. But and even like I want to learn how to be a better editor from like my YouTube stuff, like for like my video essays that I do on my main channel. But it's just like one thing at a time, and I don't want to like overwhelm myself with creative endeavors that don't satisfy my happiness, I guess, like because at the end of the day, this is a hobby, not my job. So I want to make sure I do what makes me happy, and alleviates the stress of the regular day. So and that's what doing this is what does that for me. But that's dope though. 13 years, that's awesome. Yeah, my dad went to school for graphic design, but he didn't really do anything with his degree. He kind of just got it and was like, all right, cool. I just got my degree because I wanted to go to school for something. Got a little bit of cold, man. It wasn't that snow in Carolina, North Carolina. Mhm. No snap. This thing must be running out of ink. But yeah, like I recently watched the Wonder Man show. It just came out and it was so good. Really grounded. That'd be bad, but I can share it. Oh yeah, man. If you see it in my Discord, yeah, if you send it in my Discord, that'd be cool. I would love to check it out, see what you got. Or even if you have like Instagram page ads or artwork, that'd be cool. Um, but yeah, like I was saying earlier about how like it's funny how all the Marvel Knights characters were like the popular characters of 2000s outside of X Men and Spider Man, and then now it's all the like the more unpopular characters like Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, who are characters who were historically not popular at all. Like they've never had crazy bestseller comics. I mean, obviously they're known because they're like characters been around for a long time, but now they're like some of the more popular comics. At least in the movies, they still don't really sell well. But I just think this funny. But a show like Wonder Man comes out, and I think that, I mean, obviously he's another D-list character, and that show was so good, man. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun interpretation of the superhero thing, and it wasn't really. I mean, it was a superhero story, but it was more of a superhero. Like the guy, the whole premise was he wants to be an actor, and in that scenario, having like people who have powers aren't allowed to become work on movie studios because there was one character who had powers, and he was an actor, or like in a movie role, and he ended up like a whole accident happened, and then they are like banned for superhero people from being in movies. And he, like the main character Wonder Man, he has to like hide the fact that he has powers and tries to keep it under wraps, and essentially his powers are like triggered by his like him getting angry and stuff, and he has like these crazy like Superman like powers and stuff like that. But here in Carolina too. I don't live in North Carolina. I have family out there. I go and visit it. I was out there recently to go to the Hornets game in Charlotte. I live in the DMV area though, but not in North Carolina. I go there pretty often. Like I go there to shows. Like I said, I have family out there, like in like Fayetteville, Charlotte, in that surrounding area. So I go there fairly often just to go visit and hang out and stuff like that. But I went this weekend and I got stuck in the snow. Like I went for the game. I didn't think the snow was going to be that crazy, and I was like worried that the game was going to get um the game was going to get canceled. Luckily, it didn't. But I still had to drive through freaking crazy snowstorm to go. But it was definitely worth it because it was just fun. Cause my dad and my little brother flew out to meet me out there with my wife, and my kids. So it was just fun to go. I had a great time. Well, at least I had a great time for the game. After that, I was pretty much stuck in my hotel room for 3 days because there was nothing open because of the crazy snow. How much you got left in here? I might have to refill this. I can't tell. It's like I have to refill after I'm done, but yeah, Wonder Man was cool. I don't know. Superhero movies are interesting and an interesting spot right now. We'll see how the next 5 years, whether or not they're the main driving force of Hollywood. And then like anime movies are starting to like come out and be popular, but I don't know how long that's gonna last. I don't think that's gonna be I feel like that's gonna be like exception to the rule and not be the main, because I don't think a lot of people are really trying to go see like I went and saw what is that shit called? What is that damn movie? Live Die Repeat, whatever, or All You Need Is Kill, the animated one. And it was really good, but I was like literally the only person in the theater. And it was opening day. So, people, like, I just remember I was listening to podcast and people talking about, like, Demon Slayer came out and went crazy and made all this money. But I was like, well, Demon Slayer is kind of an exception. Like, it's already super popular, has a super strong fan base, and they've essentially curated all their fans to watch their movies now. So I don't know if that's gonna happen, because I don't like, did the Chainsaw Man movie do good in theaters? I don't know. I didn't go see it in theater. I saw it on streaming, but I don't know if that. I feel like I would have heard about it if that one did good. And that one has a pretty strong fan base also. But I don't think that's going to be the case for Hollywood. I don't know. They might try it out again for other movies. Maybe like Jujutsu Kaisen. They had a movie that came out. I don't know how good that one did, but yeah, I don't know. So everybody's talking about Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is like fucking hyper popular. And I mean, I finished Demon Slayer a long time ago, so I'm not like, I'm kind of past that. And it wasn't my favorite, but it was cool for what it was worth. But oh man, I appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how anime does in the big screen, man. I don't know. Like, even when I watched what's it called? I saw like the Slam Dunk movie when it came out. It didn't do like crazy. Like, I was literally the only person in there also when it came out. I don't know if anime movies are going to be the wave. I mean, maybe if they market them well enough and push them, but like, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be something that people are really going to get into in that way, because I think a lot of manga fans and anime fans are used to getting their stuff for like free, like unless it's like super duper popular and something that's super like but like all the real, like not real, I don't want to say that, but a lot of the major fans, they're gonna check it out for free. They're gonna find the downloads, find the rips, and that's essentially what sustains the manga industry in a way. Like I made a video about it a long time ago about how piracy kind of helped manga become as popular as it is over here in America, because they were able, like they maximized the piracy to keep people in touch and engaged with all those stories and stuff. But I don't know if that's going to translate to like mainstream audiences don't want to go and see them. Like again, like Demon Slayer is like super exception, and the anime studio for Demon Slayer is so good. I think the only studio that can come out right now and do crazy out here is like Ghibli Studios. But I don't know if I don't think they're doing any more movies. I think they're done. I think they got retired. I don't know. I still haven't seen the Boy and a Heron. I still gotta check it out. I need to check it out, but can't find it in English. Yeah, it's coming pretty good. I might have to lay the zip down, man, because his costume is black also, but I don't want to freaking like color it black, so I might just throw the zip tone over him right here and just call it a day. Even though I was just talking shit about doing zips, but I have like I have so many zips left, like sheets and sheets of zipatone. I'm just like, dude, I need to do something with this stuff before it like goes bad and I just wasted a bunch of zips. So I'm gonna have to lay it down. Oh man, hell yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. So funny because I'm not really like Discord is such a funny like thing. I don't really use it too much. I really kind of just use it to promote my stuff. Like I have a few Discord that I actually go in and chat a lot, but I don't really like use it too much. But it seems like that's a thing that a lot of people use. So post your stuffs in Argent too. Okay, sweet, sounds good. Yeah, but yeah, I'm never really like, I don't know. I mean, Discord is cool. It's interesting space because I like the voice chat thing. Like I used that a few times in some of the other this ones and like talking to people. I think it's pretty cool and interesting. But yeah, it's a funny thing. Like I just started getting into like Discord this past year to kind of promote a lot of my stuff and kind of keep up with the people who actually like I don't have my own personal one, but I'm in a bunch of like different ones and like so I think it's pretty cool. But like deleted. Like when he opened it, I was like, oh, cool, because I like his channel. It's funny. So I'm just going there, and especially Discords that are like heavily black. I think is the space to be in. Have you ever used India ink? So the inks that I use, I have this one right here, super black. I'm like a quarter done with this. This is the ink that I've been using the last year, and then I use. Right now, I'm almost done with this, but my deleter white. I used the deleter black ink too, and it's really good. It's super matte, super black. But the super black, the India ink super black is more cost efficient. Like it's a big ass bottle. It's only a quarter of the price. Where the deleter inks are like, it's a little container. So and it does the job. Then like I'm not like like I tried to be like a brush guy. Like I used the Raphael Kolinsky brushes for one of my comics a long time ago. And I like these. These are cool. You get a good brush out of it, but it's just again like a time thing. Like for me, when it comes to making comics, I like to be as efficient, especially time wise, as possible. And using a brush is not the best thing, the most time conducive tool, at least especially when you're first learning out. You have to really learn it, and then like once you're done using it, you have to clean it off and all this other stuff. And those brushes aren't cheap brushes, like $20-$30, brushes. And I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do that. So that's why I just get brush pens now and just use brush pens. But yeah, Discord is funny. Yeah, I like Discord though. It's cool. And like when I first got into it, I was like, man, there's like so many different chats and like a lot of going on. I don't know how I'm gonna be able to keep up all this stuff. And then I realized like, well, I don't necessarily have to like like I'll go into like general chats of people's stuff and check out when people do stuff and then leave. I usually just go in there, I'll drop links and then kind of just dip off. Honestly, like it's not like a hub for me to be in all day. I mean, I know some people are all there a lot, and that's like their main like social media, which is cool, but it's not mine. My like the most thing I'm usually on all day is YouTube. I watch a lot of videos because I like to watch or listen to stuff really passively while I'm drawing and stuff. And that's like a big reason why I fell off of anime because a lot of the animes that I want to watch aren't translated. And like I'm not like I'm more of a sub guy than a dub guy. But since I like to watch stuff while I'm doing stuff, while I'm drawing specifically, I need it to be dubbed just so I can pay attention to what's going on. This kind of sucks, but so that's why I fell off a lot of anime like in the last couple years from like when I got into drawing, like outside of stuff that I've already watched. But it sucks now because like a lot of the podcasts I used to listen to and watch are freaking trash now. So I'd like minimize a lot of the podcasts and shows that I watch, and it's been hard to find stuff to replace a lot of the shows I was listening to for years, just because just a lot of them. Yeah, a lot of the podcasts. A lot of them just regurgitate a lot of the same popping topics, and I'm just like, dude, fuck. I don't need 20 different perspectives on the same thing over and over, especially if you guys are have the same or similar perspectives and or uneducated perspectives on it. I was like, I'm not gonna keep listening to you guys. I'm too grown to listen to like childish, stuff. And then music wise, I mean, I kind of listen to the same artist since I was in middle school at this point. I guess like again, it's kind of the same things like too many people to keep up with, so I just kind of just keep up with the people I've been keeping up with that I already know that I'm listening to, and I'm gonna have an enjoyable time listening to. Like I have to really be recommended like heavily stuff in order for me to read it or eat. Like even with manga, comics, all that stuff, I have to be like I have to see people talk about it a lot in order for me to keep up with it at this point. But it is what it is. Okay, I think I mean, they changed the cartridge. I think it's. Oh, yep, I knew it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting about like manga, anime, or I keep saying manga, but anime is like the way we interpret voices compared to the way Japanese interpret the voices and what they're supposed to sound like. Like stark examples like Dragon Ball Z and how Goku's voice sounds in the American version compared to like the Japanese version. But since I met Dragon Ball Z and as an English property in English, I can't really listen to the Japanese version because it just throws me off. Same thing with kind of with Naruto a little bit. So I always find it funny that like that like they interpret the voices differently, and characterize it differently, depending on the where they produce the books or where the shows at. But give me a second. I'm gonna go grab the screen tone so I can lay that down right here, and then I'm gonna do a little bit of splatter, and then probably call it a day. Again, appreciate everybody who's watching. Appreciate you, Yumi, for chatting it up. Again, for the people who might not have heard earlier, I'm running a Kickstarter campaign from my comic Awol. The book is completely done. We got 5 days left. All I need is the funds are just strictly going to printing costs, and that's literally it. I already literally have the book already what's it called? Ready, set up to be printed. All I do is wait for once the campaign's over. I'm just gonna click print and then call it a day. So if you guys can, if you can support, I really appreciate it. The link is in the bio and it's also in the chat as well if you scroll up. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna go and grab some screen tones and I need to get some water for my brushes so I can. They're all crusted over, so I'm gonna get some water. Rinse them out so I can put the splatter on it. So I'll be right back. Give me 10 seconds. Yeah, appreciate you for stopping by and chatting it up. I am, yeah, I really appreciate it. Appreciate you for, yeah. Let me set myself back up. I am a lap drawer. If you guys don't know, I draw on my lap because my desk is super small. But I don't think I would be able to use a regular drafting table at this point. Let me stop sharing. Boom. All right. So here we go. Let me get this last little details on this thing, and then we'll call it a day. Huh? Anybody else in chat? What you guys got going on? Everybody, don't forget to like the stream. I'd really appreciate it. And check out the discard. What's it called? Talk on the shit, the Kickstarter as well. Lost my train of thought for a second. All right, let me get this ink. All right, add some white splatter. I'm like almost out on this thing. All right, sweet. Just add a little bit of. A little bit more. I love doing splatter, man. You know, shout out to Sanford Green, who essentially just like, I remember when I first found his art and I was like, man, how are they doing that effect? And then I watched a couple of tutorials and realized that he was just doing a bunch of brush splatters on all this stuff. And he like got that from Bill Cabbage, who was like somebody who just like over excessive amount of splatter. But yeah, Sanford Green, that guy is super dope. And I fuck with Sanford Green, man. I met him a few times. Super cool guy, dope artist. I want to see him do more work, man. Like more like stuff. I'm glad he kind of like got his recognition this last couple years, like with that Doom comic. But I'm like, bro, fuck that Doom comic. The Doom comic was dope, but I'm like, bro, like his, you know, that Bitterroot, that's like his opus maximus or whatever opus. You know, his best work. You know, at least in my mind. I mean, the Power Man Iron Fist was dope as well, but the stuff he did in Bitterroot is just like next level, and it's, you know, I don't know what's gonna happen with the future of that. I guess I don't know if it's this, you know, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it sold well, like for what it's worth. I think it does better in the aftermarket stuff, like with the shit. like the trades and stuff. I think it does better. So I think the compendium does really good sales wise, and that's a fat huge book. And but like when they were saying, when I was watching the live stream with them on the blurred, not blurred, but the Black Comics Lords, they're essentially talking about how they're gonna have to do a Kickstarter, and then that you know, I guess maybe Sanford's getting too busy doing other projects, which makes sense. So they're gonna have to get other artists to help get get a roll on, you know, production, you know, to get more stuff out, which is cool. I mean, that just makes sense. You know, if you want to expand, keep the world building, and you know, have like the main timeline story and just expand outwards. But the fact that they did do Kickstarter is kind of like, whoa, what's going on? Like, where? But you know, when you go through like Image, you're essentially just getting a logo on your comic. You're not really getting that much publish push unless you're like under one of the imprints like Skybound or something. And I think, you know, I know Bitterroot was optioned by like I think Ryan Coogler and you know, Regina Hall or Regina King, excuse me, was supposed to, you know, is supposed to be on board to help, you know, produce and direct the movie and stuff. So I think it kind of fell through, but I think they are back on track with that. So hopefully, you know, if Bitterroot gets a movie, or man, they should get a show or like a cartoon. I think it would do amazing, man. We'll see. Hopefully that comes, you know, hopefully that comes to fruition here in the near future. But we'll see, man. I feel like, you know, that stuff, like it seems like that is like the hardest thing. Like if you get just because you get picked up in an auction is just like such a hard. It's like essentially getting a movie made is like unless you're like already an established person, is like straight up like essentially what you're doing is trying to get people to pay for the movie to get done, and it's like super hard to convince people to do that, obviously, because that's a lot of money. You know, if you want a high quality product, you need a lot of investors to want to spend that money on that stuff. I was like, man, like you can get a script done, all that stuff, and it takes years. Like Spawn, like I'm like surprised that Spawn, you know, Spawn was a proven IP. Like the movies did good, still pretty popular, relatively speaking. You don't really need to do anything crazy for Spawn. Like you can get a low budget, not like super low, but like your budget really just needs to go to the CGI for Spawn, and even you can play that out where you don't have to really show him too much and have him just in the shadows. It'll work, and it will work just as well. And I think that's what they were trying to do. I don't know what you know what's going on with that, but you know, because Tommy McFarlane, he has money too. So I'm like, what, like, bro? Use some of that toy money. He should have just stayed with the cartoon. I don't know what the hell happened with the HBO cartoon. Like that was his. He definitely maximized his um all the Spawn popularity while he could, like for sure. Like Tom McFarlane, like he really like used and leveraged Spawn in a real way and made that one of the most popular like indie comic. Like it's definitely like one of the more popular like independent quote unquote comics out. For real, like or that's ever came out in the last like I'm honestly ever. Like I don't think there's anything else that's been that popular, especially for like this long. But obviously, it's because um, Tom McFarlane's got made all that money on in toys, so it's kind of I don't want to say easy, but you can really leverage a lot of that like money. Like like, I'm sure I don't know how much money he's using or like losing or if he's making on Spawn, but it doesn't need to be a bestseller for it to stay in print because of how popular he is. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, not cool. It's interesting how there's in like the movie, especially because I think he had Jamie Foxx attached to it, but it's been like in production for like 10 years. I'm like, dude, what the heck, man? But then again, like you can't even get a Blade movie done, and Blades had a whole tribute. They were all damn, that's doing enough screen tone. Fuck. But a Blade movie is like for some reason so hard to get done. So I'm like, what is going on? I think I'm not gonna zip it on the hands. I'll just leave the hands white. Laying it down. All right, so let's see. Let's get this cut out. All right. But I think nowadays a lot of these studios they want the Marvel effect with their stuff like their IPs. They want that shit to be able to make merchandise, toy sales, costumes, all that stuff. So it's like, but nowadays I don't know, man. We'll see. I don't even know. Hollywood seems to be in a funky spot, especially with all the streaming stuff and essentially all the mainstream IPs are about to be under like one fucking thing, like between Disney and Netflix, which is kind of whack, honestly. Like I'm confused on how that's even legal, like the Paramount and all that stuff. I'm like, how the fuck are y'all able to buy like all of Warner Brothers? How are you able to do that? I don't even see how that's even fair or like why that's okay. Like I feel like it's such a limiting like limits the creative output, like because it's just under one umbrella. They can just control everything, but they want to put out the type of stories they want to make. I don't know. Like I don't understand why that's cool. But I'm not making any movies, so I'm not too tripping about it. But it just seems super lame to me. I don't know. It's also kind of lame that I think is just it's interesting. Yeah, I was trying to talk about this earlier in the stream, but like this like hate kind of for like Black History Month for some people now, like kind of like not in the racist like oh why do we have Black History Month there? Why do we have to have a month like not that fucking bigoted bullshit, but like how creatives or like artists, they kind of get this weird like, "Ugh, like why are you calling me now? You want to talk to me during Black History Month. Now you want to respect me during this time and not during every other part of the year," which I totally understand. But I think that, you know, if you separate the corporate side of like Black History Month to like the positive like side, and then also, something that I, am like, bro, if you like, it's not hard to keep up with Black art if you are actually, subscribe to supporting Black art, like I read Black, I always, buy and support like quality Black comics or art, if I can support, I always will. Because it's just like, why not? Like it shouldn't be a difficult task to spend your money on, if you're gonna spend your money on all this other stuff, I don't see why not. So, and also, it wasn't hard for me to find like dope Black comic book artists. It was really, really easy. You just are from, you get in these spaces. There are people of all creeds and races in these spaces, and it's not hard to find them. And that's why I don't ever really focus or trip about like the Black characters. Like, oh man, Static is not getting the love it deserves and da da da. Because I've already came to the understanding like that they don't care about that stuff. Like, and I fuck with the Dakota verse and what they did with all that, but that shit is just done for. Like that shit was like, and I've made videos about it, about just kind of like the whole milestone and it stuff, and just kind of how that came and how, I mean, it was an exemplary time for what to come out, but there's so many different things that kind of happened that kind of ruined that, and even the comeback was kind of faulty to a degree where I don't know, it didn't. Outside of honestly the Static stuff, um, it just it wasn't the same to me, at least, like all the older stuff. And obviously I wasn't alive around that time during the original like milestone stuff, so like I can't speak from the perspective of the people who were around when that stuff was coming out, and I'm sure they were super hyped about it, all the people. And I'm sure, I mean, even I just remember, I mean, watching the Static Show growing up, I always thought that was super dope. So I can imagine the feeling of being a comic book artist or a comic book fan and finally seeing like dope Black characters that were telling your story, and they're made by Black people also, which is a huge part. But now it's just like, I don't know, like they sell that shit to DC. DC was like, fuck that, we're shelving this shit, and it sucks, man. But like I said, I'm not tripping about that stuff. Like, and honestly, if you really care, like if you want to make, man, just fucking make a bootleg version of all that shit. Like make a bootleg Static comic, make a bootleg Sigourney, what's her name? The new uh what's the shorty's name? Green Lantern, the one that came out recently, that had the super dope Far Sector. Like just do it, just make it and just fucking post it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't want these characters to die, just make your own fan comic and just put it out there, because it keeps those characters alive, like that's the stuff that needs to be done, at least in me. Like I made my own Spider-Man comic, and it was a Black Spider-Man character, and I was just like, that's just what I wanted to do. I'm like, yeah, fuck it. And it wasn't Miles, it was just like my own guy. And like I was like, that's cool. I didn't give him a name or anything like that, but it was, I mean, I guess you could see his Miles if you want to, but I wasn't thinking of him as a Miles character. It was just like, I want to do a character where Spider-Man has a sidekick, and the sidekick um has to save Spider-Man and Peter Parker and take over the mantle and all. That was kind of like the premise of the story, like having to save a crazy Spider-Man character. And it was also kind of like what the message I was trying to get across in there was kind of like how legacy characters are not allowed to die, and how new characters are not allowed to take over the mantle. But I don't know if I got that point across in the writing of my Nobody Safe one shot, but that was kind of like what I was wanted to allude to when I was writing it. But I don't know if it got that point came across very well. But that's definitely an idea that I kind of want to come back to, the fact that like characters are not allowed to die. How superhero characters are forced to live forever. That would be like an interesting like case study, like an idea that never really comes that's never really, I think, talked about in comics. How people won't allow these characters to go, and not people, but like these companies won't do it. There's one in every couple years. There's a new character that kind of comes and takes over the spotlight for a little bit, like a Miles Morales. And he's been around forever, and it took him, a whole decade before, or even longer, before he was able to get his just due, and that was in the movie, not even in a comic. Which I think, I mean, the new comic by Zach Webb, I think is doing pretty well. People, I think, rock with it, and it's, I mean, it's been going on for, I don't know, a couple issues, so like 30, 40 issues. So obviously it's selling well enough for people to keep up with it. And the artwork is dope. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. I haven't read really any of it, but I've definitely checked it out here and there just because I like the artwork and stuff. But I'm not like a huge superhero guy anyways. I don't read superhero stuff. Literally the only like absolute Superman, the absolute universe, mainly Batman, Martian, and Manhunter, and Wonder Woman have kept me reading super comics. But generally speaking, my pickups are always like indie or like image type books vibes. But yeah, I mean, like, if people like, they want to, fuck, just make your own bootleg version of those characters and just do it yourself. Um, that's what I would like to see more of. Just fucking do it. There's a market for it. Obviously, people want that, even though they try to make this whole like statement like, oh, people don't support black characters and like the original black, but that's fucking bullshit. You just gotta keep pushing it. It takes a long time. It doesn't matter if they're black or not. It takes a long time for people to get into IPs that they're not um used to being around. You have to really like, what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they say like, oh, these new mangas come out of nowhere, but they didn't come out of nowhere. Like, a lot of these new mangas that were around for a long time, but what happens is they just get a fucking anime, and that's what makes them big time. Like, but that's all Japan propaganda, like, to get their stuff over here and make it popular because they make a lot of money. That's their biggest export. So they have to invest the Japanese government has to invest as much money as they can into making sure all those manga and anime are successful as possible, so they can keep their government afloat. Like, it's a whole thing. Look up the I think it's called the Japanese Pop Initiative or something. It happened like a long time ago. Essentially after World War II, that's what they kind of did to reframe the whole entire government to make him seem like this sort of way. It's really interesting to read if you guys go check it out. But and that's why also I think that more people should aim for like an animated series or a cartoon and not a fucking movie. I don't know why. Like, I would love to have an anime done, not a movie. Like, I don't know. Like, I think it would just be more like, especially with the type of stories you want. Like, it just seems like easier to get into. Obviously, I think getting animation done is a lot more time consuming and probably just as expensive as getting a movie made. But I just feel like it would last longer. I don't know. I feel like people would like it more. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think I guess it depends on the market. Like, Invincible works better as a cartoon than it would as a movie because does a dense uh concept, like series is really long and has a lot of layers and characters, and a movie wouldn't do it justice. It would be so fractured, and they would have to pick a lot of stuff apart and take stuff out. I mean, I think they're going to do a movie. The only thing I wish they would have did better with Invincible is get a better animation team. Like, I don't know, they should have gone to like a crazier studio to make it more dynamic. It's like, 'cause there's like a few fight scenes, like especially in this last season, that I was like, oh yeah, they did a really good job, like the conquest fights and stuff. But it's like they saved their money for those specific fights. But if they were, if they would save the budget and get actual just regular voice actors and not just fucking actors, like get just people who are like have lower, you don't have to pay them that much because the actors, they're probably giving them hella money because obviously they're Hollywood actors, and just get like voice actors that's their main job is doing the voice acting. um you could put more money into getting like a doper studio, to animate this stuff, like Studio Bones or C4 Studio. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what studio they go through, but the way the fight scenes were all on the comic pages compared to the stuff that we're getting in the book is just like it's not hitting the same, you know. So at times it's kind of a little disappointing, at least for me, because then there's so many good fight scenes in Invincible that are going to be coming up. So I'm always like confused on like, okay, well, what are we doing? Like we need to up the ante, especially of how popular it is. And I think it kind of like a little bit lost a little bit of momentum. Like I feel like nobody like the first season was like did gangbusters like on the online and like people were talking about it and were really fucking with it, the memes and stuff. But now like well, because they took that fat break in between seasons, which obviously it makes sense because it takes a long time to do all that stuff. But I feel like that kind of hurt them a little bit. And then they split the season three, I think, in half, and that kind of like fucked them a little bit too. Because it was kind of a momentum killer. So we'll see. Maybe they'll have like the Attack on Titan thing where like they kind of catch their stride of that. Because that's what happened with Attack on Titan. It got so popular so fast that they ended up doing like a movie and all this other stuff. And it kind of like it took them forever to come out with that next season. I remember that and I was like, dude, what the fuck? And then when they did drop that second season, it was only like it was only eight episodes, and everybody was like, bro, what? And then they came back. Season three was like 20 something episodes, and that was a pretty good season. Because after that, after the second season came out, I was like, yeah, fuck this. I'm just gonna read the manga. And I remember I read it because I didn't want to wait because they were just bull, especially like after they kept doing, oh, this is the last season, part one of the last season, part two. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? How are you gonna make it 3 seasons out of one season? So I just ended up reading it instead. But yeah, Attack on Titan's pretty. But so maybe Invincible can have that same effect because it's such a layered comic, man. So I think it could do good. Like it could do that, but we'll see. It's like one of the best selling comics on Amazon, obviously, because it's so popular, and it's an Amazon comic property. So we'll see. And they're supposed to have a movie, but I'm like, I don't know why do a movie? Who cares? You don't need to do a movie. It's be a waste. Fuck. Is it the tone? Got 6 people in the chat. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? What's everybody got going on tonight? I don't know why I do this to myself, man. Fucking zip suck. Fuck. Again, I do not envy anybody who's like, came up back in the day as a mangaka or like a manga assistant and had to freaking lay out zip tones on every page of a manga. Fuck that. That is a fucking bitch and a half. This shit is so trash, bro. I would not want to do this as a full-time job. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how many manga still do traditional zips. I doubt many of them do anymore. But that shit is ass. Like having to do this. I see like so many like artists who like who are like super good at doing zipatone, and I'm like, how the fuck are you able to get that so fine? Maybe it's the blade that I have. It's just the leader blade, but it's not that great at cutting. At times, it's very seems like it's very dull. Even though I just replaced it not that long ago. Might need to get a better straight edge. But there you go. Off my page. Fuck. Damn it. Get off my page. There you go. Fuck, fuck, fuck. There you go. Boom, got it. A little bit. Such an asshole, man. You know, fuck that. I'm just gonna wipe that out. I'm not wasting my time doing that crap for. I can just. Let me see. See, this is part of making art, man. Solutions, just. Just do this. You don't have to worry about it anymore, right? I'm wasting my damn time trying to cut it out. I can just white over it. You know what I'm saying? Boom. There we go. That's how you do it. Perfect. Boom. Get all these bubbles out here, man. Fuck. Fucking zipped, dude. I think he has like a thing on. Let me see. I gotta look up reference for Ghostwriter, but I'm pretty sure he has like. I know he has. I think he has like a thing, like a white thing in the middle of his costume. Let's see if I can find it. Then I will. I got reference on my thing already. Let me see. Says something like that, right? Fuck it. Just do whatever. Yeah, just do that. Just like a line right there, Just kind of give it, break up the little bit of the monotony of his costume a little bit. Just add some white to the top. To dry up a little bit. Fuck. All right. Yeah, that's cool. Mm-hmm. And then, add some black splatter to like right here. Some crackles and stuff to his freaking what's it called? Call it a day. Spill it. All right. How am I gonna see? Let me start with the down here. All right, I think that might be a good. That. I think. Aqui uma dupe. Aqui uma dupe. Kind of big, so better might get rid of those. All right, I think I might have. I think I got what I needed out of this. Or how much as I can do, I guess. Can add a little bit of details, hands. Fix that little spot there. All right, I think I might be good. Do too much nicking on here, I'm gonna be fucking all day with it. See, maybe I'll look for flames in here, and then I think I'll call it D. All right. Okay, maybe done. Maybe signing because I always forget to sign my fucking. What's it called? I'll just sign it right here. I always have like a bad time. I always forget to sign my fucking drawings for some reason. I don't know why. It's like I'm like, all right, I'm done with it. And I just throw it off to the side. And I always forget to sign it. And I'm like, damn it. And I end up like signing digitally. And I'm like, well, I need to sign it when I. And then when somebody tries to buy my art, and they're like, "Oh, can you sign it?" Like, oh, why didn't I sign this? So, yep. Appreciate everybody for watching the stream. All that good jazz. Go check out those comics that I showed earlier in the stream. I'm gonna clip up that part of the stream probably later on in the week, and upload them. Want to highlight a lot of those artists and a lot of those creators who are making dope black comics, manga. Again, Ghostwriter. Let's scan it in. I appreciate all you guys for watching this stream. Whether you came in early and left or just coming in now, I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and comment, subscribe to the channel if you're already doing all those things. That really helps a lot. Also, again, go check out my Kickstarter for Awol, volume number 1, 160 pages, action-packed manga. The book is completely done. 5 days left. We already hit our funding goal, so now just if we can get a couple more backers, I would really appreciate it. If you guys are really interested, to go check it out. Again, there's 5 days left to back, and then literally you can send the book to print, and it'll be in your doorstep. I'm planning to do a pretty quick turnaround for this book since it's already done. I already have the proofs coming in. So if they're in before the campaign's over, I'm planning on I might do another live stream where we kind of look over the proof copies and stuff and all that good jazz. Like I said, it's 5 days left, so we'll see if I'm able to get that. The proof is supposed to come in Friday, so we'll see. The campaign might be over before that, but either way, I'll still. I might, maybe I can open late ledges or something. I don't know, but again, appreciate you guys for the stream. Kicking it, drawing, hanging out. Don't forget to click the link to the Kickstarter, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next stream. Peace.